Welcome back to the show. We got a great one lined up for you. 16 trillion coming under custody for digital assets. And then we see the CME group, NASDAQ, NYSE. They're all going to list XRP and crypto. I'm going to prove it to you. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on X, YouTube, and DigPerspectives.com for exclusive content. Right now, $3.93 trillion market cap for crypto. The market's up 2.2. Bitcoin 111,000 plus, Ethereum 4,300 plus, XRP back at the number 3 spot. 285. We're up 2.7 on the 24. We're off 5.1 on the 7-day. Look at the range of price between 277 and 286. We're at the top side of that range, and Congress is now back in session, and the Clarity Act market infrastructure bill is in progress to be worked on starting now. And I tell you, between now and somewhere between Thanksgiving, this thing should be passed. This is getting exciting. I love that Congress is back. I wish they had never left. Caleb and Brown, crypto brokerage. Listen, you know I never keep my assets in one place. I never have. That is part of my strategy to investing in the digital asset space. And this is one of the places that makes me feel safe. And I tell you, it also has a personal touch service that you won't really understand until you go open your account. So go to XRPwealth589.com and open your free account today. I'm going to tell you, it is an experience you're not quite familiar with because it's a personal touch experience. You want to speak to a human? Pick up the phone and call them. You got a question about market orders because you don't know how to set them right? Pick up your phone and call the broker that you use. This is what I'm talking about. This is a great opportunity. And to get that personal touch service, I'm telling you, there's nothing like it. You're going to love it. So make sure you click it. The link underneath the video, xrpwealth589.com. Now, Thunes and Ripple expand global partnership to transform cross-border payments. Thunes is also utilizing Ripple payments to enhance its SmartX treasury system. Now, we broke and covered this news yesterday, and we've been talking about Thunes for years, but it just got very real. And I want to highlight, because then we're going to add something to the news from yesterday as well that you're going to like. Thunes and Ripple expand global partnership, transform cross-border payments. And I went over and showed everybody that the big things and takeaways from that is now connecting 7 billion mobile wallets and bank accounts across 130 countries and 80 plus currencies. That's what's happening there. And then add this to the mix. Rathacom highlights Ripple just participated TazaPay's Series B funding. TazaPay Singapore, where Thunes is, right, is a leading global cross-border payments infrastructure platform. Interestingly, Circle also participated in the round. Makes sense. The stablecoins wars are very real. Let's everybody fight for the best, right? And here it is. The Clarity Act will do for digital assets what the Telecommunications Act in 1996 did for the internet.com era. I believe this. Take a listen here to the update on what's coming.
We passed the Clarity Act in the House before we left for August. We showed overwhelming bipartisan support. Why? Because we know we need the United States to be the leader in Web3 technology, and that means we need a regulatory framework for digital assets here in the United States. This is possibly the most important piece of legislation that the Senate's going to pass in a bipartisan manner later this year. I'd love to see the Senate bring up the Clarity Act again, as passed by the House, with overwhelming support. And if they do that, I think what we have an opportunity to do is cement the U.S. as the global leader in the digital assets space.
And that's what we're talking about here, because I'm going to tell you, all the crypto, all the gains, we're all going to get rich. Everybody wants a watch and a Lambo, whatever. Look, it isn't about that. This whole entire space from Bitcoin to XRP to everything else is here because they had to come up with something to protect and provide the ability for the US dollar dominance to continue in the new digital on-chain economy. And this is how you do it. And I'm pretty confident that they're going to pass this Clarity Act, because the Genius Act that they passed and signed into law is useless without the market infrastructure bill. And like I said, when it comes back to US dollar dominance being the core reason they need it, It won't matter that we all get some rich in the process, right? They don't have time to worry about that. So I think that's what's coming for all of us. Now, financial advice. Now, Bitcoin ETFs, they now hold 7% of the total Bitcoin supply. ETFs hold 7% of the total supply. BlackRock is leading that with over 746,000 Bitcoin in their folder. But I'll tell you this, now think about the 19 ETFs for XRP. It's soon to be 20 when BlackRock joins, and I believe they will. And imagine how much XRP will be gobbled up off the market and put into a qualified custodian. This is the kind of upward pressure we got coming, and it could happen as soon as October. So head on a swivel out here, ladies and gentlemen. We like what's coming. Wealth Manager says XRP ETF approval odds are closer to 100% now. That's Nate Garazzi, who's been pounding the ground on this. We certainly appreciate his insights. And then here we have this. And this is where the game changer effect is about to come into play, ladies and gentlemen. Breaking. SEC CFTC allows spot trading of cryptocurrencies on registered U.S. exchanges. Now, be honest, when you read this, did you think what I thought and said, what does that really mean? Because at first I was like, that's awesome. Wait a minute. Why is it awesome? What does it even mean? Well, that's what we do here. Well, I'll tell you what it means. This means U.S. exchanges will be able to list crypto for trade. Yeah, we already know Coinbase are doing it. We already know Uphold's doing it. We already know Caleb and Brad. They're all doing it. But guess who else is getting ready to start doing it? The CME group, the New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, which I spelled wrong, CBOE, ICE Futures US, Foreign Board of Trade. That's who's getting ready to list crypto. And I think there's going to be an effect from that. The crypto exchanges like Coinbase and other crypto platforms just got decentralized. And I believe this will set up a run on crypto exchanges for merger acquisition deals because the writing is on the wall. The big boys are here and they aren't leaving until they run it all. This is where the rest of the world will say, well, if you're going to offer Bitcoin and XRP, I'm going to buy it right off the New York Stock Exchange. I don't have to open up a different account. Yeah. You think they aren't excited? You better bet they are. Not to mention the fact that they're getting ready to list tokenized securities too, and that opens the door for that conversation. But where's the next step for all of this tokenization? Where's the next step for all this crypto to be sold on platforms like NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange and the CME that they've never sold before? Where are they going to custody all of this? And didn't we just cover a video a day or so ago talking about the real secret weapon of Ripple, which is tokenization? Real world asset tokenization. And you know what the next step is after you tokenize all your real world assets? Is where you're going to custody it. And Ripple's there, A to Z, to get the job done. And here's what they talk about in here: $16 trillion by 2030 with crypto assets under custody. $16 trillion in the next 5 years. 4.5, let's call it. Think of it for a moment, right? That's a lot of money. That's a lot of tokenization of the real world assets to be put into custody, isn't it? I tell you, this is quite remarkable. There was also something else in here I wanted to highlight as well. Let's see where it is, if I can find this here. Oh, 10% of the world's assets expect to be tokenized by 2030. This leans into the idea of what we've been talking about. When things flip a switch, it may be governed, because what we have seen over the last 8 years that I've been in this space is that they phase this transition in. And that's wonderful because you want to make sure that you ramp it up in stages in a matter of percentages. So if we see 10% of the world's assets by 2030, I think within a very short period after that, you'll see the rest of it. Remember, Cristian Carlos says within 8 to 10 years, could be less, everything will be tokenized. And if it isn't, it'll sell at a discount because no one wants it unless it is tokenized. That's where we're going. The world stage is set for mass adoption. And CME, NASDAQ, and the New York Stock Exchange and others are prepared for the first time ever to start offering crypto, including XRP, ladies and gentlemen. Think of it. And that points to something that we're headed towards. It's a grand economic reordering underway. I tell you, we're seeing all of this stuff now. President Putin, Xi, and Kim from North Korea all coming together side by side. There is a grand economic reordering taking place, and we all know it's coming. And I believe you're seeing with this tokenization and move to tokenize all the traditional markets and to get everybody over to the new system is all a part of this grand economic reordering. And Smoke Dog is at it again. The XRP ledger's role in trade finance. BRICS report discusses the importance of smart contracts and escrow-like systems in trade finance. It directly references the XRP ledger's escrow model, noting how it could enhance settlement efficiency. The mention is seen as an endorsement of the XRP ledger's technical potential in automating cross-border processes. So it's not just about us focusing on what's happening at home. There is pressure geopolitically that we cannot ignore anymore the way the last administration did. That's where we're at today. And here is a reminder of exactly that with U.S. Treasurer Scott Bessent telling us exactly what's coming.
I could see in the next few years that we are going to have some kind of a grand global economic reordering. There's something on the equivalent of a new Bretton Woods, or if you want to go back, like something back to the steel agreements or the Treaty of Versailles. There's a very good chance that we are going to have to have that over the next 4 years.
And doesn't that put us right at the doorstep of 2030? And doesn't it appear that the XRP ledger will sit in between all of this grand economic reordering? Whether we're talking about the tokenization of traditional markets and stocks and these traditional exchanges being able to offer crypto, that's fantastic. But now what we're talking about is the expansion going out geopolitically and globally and understanding that everyone's got their own payment system, RTGS, SIPs, we know SEPA, all the different payment systems. Well, imagine all of that being a private XRP ledger for the regional payment systems that's tied together by an international payment layer of the XRP ledger with the DEX to begin to make markets in the future. And doesn't it get much easier if the New York Stock Exchange, the CME, and the NASDAQ and everyone else are already tokenized so they can move it around on that world exchange known as the XRP Ledger DEX? That's what I'm here for, ladies and gentlemen. Eggrag Crypto says throwback update. Take a look at it. 285, we hit it. 295, 313 could be our next levels if we stay bullish. That's what we're looking for. And then here we see the thread, $22 is a must, or the cycle top is already in. I don't think the cycle top's in by any stretch, and I don't think Eggrag Crypto does either. That's the meaning of this post. $22, $27 range is what we're targeting now, ladies and gentlemen. We just need to see the fundamental news executed, like the Clarities Act becoming law, like the ETF approvals happening, like the National Banking Charter for Ripple and the Fed Master Account, just to name a few. That's where we're at today. And it all could happen in the next 3 months. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. It's just my digital perspectives. I'll catch all of you on the next one.